for about 10 years. I started about when I was 16 years old. Discovered photography at a really poignant moment in my life that was very destructive. And photography kind of gave me a way how to channel all my raw emotions into some type of medium, which was photography. It's channeled through different things, but this is the good coping mechanism I deal with my life with. So basically I have two main bodies of work. I deal with my family, and then I deal with identity in terms of Mexican Americanism. But I've been trying to get back to talking about my family work because that's my origins, and also it's very difficult to talk about it, but I need to remember and keep going and stuff like that. So basically, we'll go quick through this work, but this is kind of a foundation for later work. So so my first early years of photography, 16 through 19, I did black and white photography. I did street life, raw images of my friends, just in the streets, getting tattooed, gang life, all that stuff. Then at 19 years old, my cousin, who was like one of my best friends, he got murdered very ugly. And so after that happened, I kind of didn't know what to do with my photography because I hadn't really experienced a loss that bad, and I had been photographing him. He was one of my muses. And so I kind of was like, well, what should I do? Should I continue with this? Or find it like all these weird questions arose. So then I kind of just went into depressed state, and I just started, my family was huddled around together because, you know, he was like our light, he was the humor. And so that's when I started to really photograph my family. And so these are reactionary images to kind of introverted mourning state with my family. So then any scratches, anything like that, that's all intentional. The house was like, my mom had almost passed away, like she was sick, like she had hepatitis C, so it was weird because she was the matriarch. And then so when he died, everybody turned to her, but she was just recovering from almost dying, so it was a weird time in our life. And so yeah, you can go there. I'm reflecting on myself, the throwaways, whatever I could.
Tell me if you want me to slow down.
No, this is fine. This is my mother. And you can stop at this one. So then this is an interesting thing. This is one of the moments I've thought about. Like, it's not the greatest image per se, but there's these moments when you're an artist and you're kind of like, oh, should I really push myself to go to that uncomfortable level? So basically, this is my aunt, my cousin's mother, and this is my mother. And my mom doesn't want my aunt around because she started using drugs again. So she's like, no, she can't come in the house. I don't want to deal with her. And because she was like, oh, well, my son died. She's like, no, I don't want to deal with her. So I told my aunt, I'm sorry, you can't come in the house. Like, my mom said no. And so my aunt is like the biggest charmer in the world. So that window had been broken and there was a door, trying to hide the coldness. And so my aunt moves it and pushes herself through the window and says, why can't I come into the house? And so it was like that weird moment where like them confronting each other. She's like, I don't want to do it. So it's like weird. Like, I mean, it's not the greatest image, but it does tell a really weird thing where it's just like family and madness and all that. So, and then this is the opposite moment of that. So basically, all this rough, hard times. And my cousin's sister, who was raised with us, was about 9 months pregnant when he got murdered. And she gave birth a month after he died. And this is the baby. And this is like a continuing theme in my work is that, just when we think we have our breaking point, destruction of family, and that maybe it's just, I don't know what's going to happen, that these small salvations come. So when she was born, we were mourning him, but yet there was these beautiful moments because here's this new hope and this new life. And so this is like mommy, this is what we needed after Jimmy had been here. And this is my grandmother. She's very unstable. I mean, she comes from the era of wanting to be photographed properly and like putting it on your face and being like, no, everything's fine. So I wanted to kind of capture her in a moment of like, just like a raw moment of family grief and all that. So that's her. And then kind of exiting the house with my brother, trying to get away from and then myself, because like as an artist or even as a photographer, like sometimes I look to all the stories that are happening within me that I have to like reflect and think of, well, how am I feeling? How do I look at this moment? How are my emotions going on? If somebody was photographing me, how would they photograph me? And just a lot of times I just, after all the madness of mourning and all that, I just sit and be like, oh, it just happened. So, and then that's my hat, my hair, boyfriend, kind of pregnant. So, just family stuff. So that's kind of how I started to learn how to photograph my family, was just forcing myself to do it, and then forcing myself at really hard moments, at when when everybody was together, when there was riff and stuff like that. That's really when it all began. And I think because they were in a mourning state, they allowed me to, because I mean, like all families, nobody wants people to know your private life. Everybody wants to put on a facade that, no, we're okay, no, we're functioning well. And I just don't believe that. I think that caused a lot of mental illness and everything else, because you can't hide your pain. And for so long, my family has done that, and they're all dead. So I think that's like a bad way of living. So then it's gonna get a little bit sadder, but that's just how life is. So if you can go to St. Louisa. So then, I was 19 at the time. I was going to East Los Angeles. You can just pause it there for a minute. So I was going to East Los Angeles. I was taking technical classes, just like Chris, trying to get my AA degree, and trying to transfer, trying to do everything. So doing protocol, which is basically, doing the studio classes, doing English, everything you guys are probably doing right now. And I was just existing. I wasn't mourning as much. But I was still photographing my family, and then came a moment where I thought my life was all going together, like perfectly. So I was 21 at this time. I had gotten enough credits and everything like that, where I was like, well, I'm gonna apply to art school in the fall. Like, I know what I want to do. I've been doing good. I've been doing all the required classes, and life was good, right? Like, it was finally stable after so much hard work. And then came a class that I was with Crystal, and it was like independent studies, and so it was basically for the Getty, and we had to do about identity. And so I had been dabbling with my family work, but all this was edited after, so none of it, I was making all this work, but I wasn't really reflecting on it. And so I thought, well, I want to try with my family again, because it's all these things, I don't understand them, so if I actually focus and make work about my family, maybe it can give me some closure or some in-depth. So then that's what happened. Just June 2010, I started making this. So this is my mother, my brother, and me. This is, our little family. And our mother was Iraq and everything like that. And this is actually at her 21 years clean, drug and alcohol. And it was like the greatest way to start the summer, because it was like, she loved it, like it was her party, and this is with a little cell phone, like because she just wanted that moment. She hadn't had a portrait of all three of us, so this is how that series starts. So then, and this one you can go slower. So then she had a boyfriend at the time. I loved him. His name was Steve. He was living with us, and they're both two ex-drug addicts. I mean, that's not their identities, but that is a part of their identity. And Steve was a smoker, and he was 56 at the time. And he found out he had stage 4 lung cancer. And then he was living with us, and he was gonna die. And we weren't used to that. We're so used to people getting shot and then saying, well, he's dead, that the actual fact of somebody dying slowly and painfully to do is a very foreign idea to my family. So we, as family, were like, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to take care of him. What do you do? They're like, all right. And I remember my professor at the time, I just didn't know how to. I didn't even know if I wanted to continue with the work, but she's like, just do it. So then I remember he was screaming and crying about the pain in his back. And, I just photographed him and like, I have to. So I'm thinking. And this is my mother and me dealing with it. Like how, we're dealing with mourning again and grief and dying and all that, but in a very weird way, and how everybody becomes introverted. And then this is her and him just being playful. She was the most, I don't know, she was like a party girl. She was wild and beautiful, and none of these images captured her, but, you know, she was trying to keep a brave face for him. And then, so this is kind of when it switches, so then this empty that you see right here. So what happened was my mom, you know, still loved going out, doing her thing, so she went with her best friend to Vegas for a weekend, and they stopped because they liked to move back in the middle of the night. And she went to smoke a cigarette while her friend went to get coffee, so they wouldn't like crash. And she got a bite on her leg. And, you know, she had hepatitis C, so hepatitis C is basically kind of like AIDS. It won't kill you, but it just affects your whole body. It just starts to shut you down, it shuts down the liver, it shuts down everything else. So then, she had almost died a few times before, so we were always like scared if she got sick. And when she got that bite in the leg, it was terrifying. She waited a few days, and then she finally went to the hospital and convinced her. And so this is what's going to visit her after they finally had admitted her. And he's the one dying, but then she's dying too. It's like this weird thing. So then, like, because of the lighting, so then like she thinks it's funny. Like she doesn't really care, because she was already used to this. But if you see like right there, like he's like, because just it was really hard. But you know, sorry. My mom was my biggest supporter, so like. At this, like this was always too raw for me. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. And she's like, no. She's like, photograph me. She's like, show your little friends what happens. Show what happens. Like, this is me at 40 grand and I'm dying. So photograph me and show everybody. This is the price you pay, like when you're young. You think you're gonna get away with everything, and you're not. You're gonna end up just like us. And so she was a big advocate for recognizing all that. So it was because of my mother's strength that I was able to even capture any of these moments in the hospital. And this is what bit her.
Do you know what that is?
We never found out. And so then this is us at the house. Like, you know, if it was bad when my cousin got murdered, my mom being sick and being really, really sick in the hospital, everybody just fell apart. And nobody wanted to deal with it. That's the thing. Is like because she almost died, everybody kept saying, well, she's not gonna die this time. She's not gonna die. And I was the only person saying, I think she's gonna die this time. Like I felt it. And I would try to confront my family, and they just were like, no, she'll be back soon. She'll be back soon. I'm like, don't worry about it. So like, and this is me and my boyfriend at the time, again, trying to stop and react and how am I feeling at that moment. And then, so then this is like week 2 when she got really sick. She was, you know, she was dying. We didn't know what else to do. We didn't know how else to do it. They were trying to help her, they were trying to save her, and her body kept getting weaker, and it was really tough. And I'm very emotional, and I was like her baby, and so she would tell me like, where's your camera? Like, take a picture of it. So there's a secret one of us smiling, but then there's this one of her showing the pain and the suffering and everything like that went on because of hepatitis C, because of the party when she was younger, and because she got a bite in her leg and they didn't treat it well enough in the beginning. So then this is week 3, and this is my brother where he just couldn't react, like he just did his own thing, so it's just trying to confront everybody like, you know, how are you feeling? And then this is like the hardest one for me because I was just breaking down because it's like, there's no coming back from this. Like I had just called the hospital to ask how she was doing. I would ask her every day, and they said, oh, she's going into body failure. And I was like, all right, like, and I just broke apart. And but I saw the camera, so I was like, this is never gonna happen again. Let me capture this in its ugliest, rawest form of like just utter grief. And so she did pass away. And in her final week when she passed away, she died like 3 weeks to the day that she got admitted. I didn't take any more pictures because it was just too personal. But there is this whole big story and I write about it. So this is like the visual, and there's also a book, but I haven't shown the book yet just because I don't want to. And so the book tells the story of what happens in between the visuals. Because sometimes visuals just can't say everything. So I can tell it as a visual, but then also as a narrative. And as an actual story, the book basically says everything that happened between that moment, the last image, and this image, which is a really triumphant moment. My mom died with like $1 to her name. She was fighting her like employer because of some shit, and fighting everybody just because like they were discriminating her on hepatitis C. And so, because she died with $11 to her name, like her being able to have a funeral, like a beautiful funeral, was all like because of her community and the outreach and everybody donating because she deserved it. She was an advocate for a drug-free life, but not in those goofy Christian ways, like in a very just, you know, if you do drugs, it's gonna have effect on you mentally, spiritually, physically. You know, that's all she was advocating, is that you don't want to be like me, you don't want to die, you don't want to leave your children. And that message was powerful enough that people donated enough for her to have a funeral. And so then this is the last visual of that, the emptiness of the room, and filling the amount, like she left the biggest void in everybody's life. So it's like, how do you capture that visually? And for me, that was how I did it. And so we can move on. This is like 2 chapters, but it's one story. And then this is losing the house and leaving it and everything like that. And then like my childhood toy that she bought for me when she was pregnant. So then we go.
This one? This one?
So there's all this mourning and all this pain and all this death and everything going on. And again, like my family, like, I mean, when my mom died, like my family collapsed. Like everybody, not just my brother and me, like my grandma, my aunt, like, you know, she was the one. And I mean, I was 21 at the time, my brother was 18, so it's not like we were just gonna kill ourselves and game over. Like, you know, what do you do after that? How do you cope with that? How do you create work? How do you do all this stuff? And it was just all these like feelings of how do you move on. And again, like I said earlier, babies kind of helped my family with that. My brother had actually a baby in January, right before my mom had passed. She passed in August. And the mother, you'll see her in this image, or in this series, was living with her family. So then when we lost the house, her and the baby came to live with us. And so we created a new dynamic. And this image is very important in contrasting to the empty bed of my mother's, because, you know, she was sick for the last few years, so she was always in the bed. And, you know, he was 6 months or so, no, like, I don't know, 8 months at the time when we moved in together. And he's a baby, so he's in the bed too. So I remember I hadn't taken images for a few months after my mom passed away. And I went into the room and I went to go get the camera because we had to do some exercise because I was still taking class at Eli. And I went and I saw him like that, and he was just, it was like such a joyous, beautiful moment that it transcended the mourning to happiness. And that was the first time I consciously did that. And then I also captured it because the camera happened to be there at the moment. So then this is, life goes on, right? Like this is now a baby, like this spirit that doesn't have the weight of any of my family history is now with us and existing with us. And it's growing, and every day he's getting a little bit smarter, every day he's becoming an individual. And so my family we didn't want to deal with each other because we all mourn differently, but we all could collectively love and put happiness towards the baby. And that's, you know, I mean, I was playing with them as I was photographing, but I was just photographing them as a coping mechanism. So. And then, like, just everybody, intimacy. Like, my family knew me and the camera were just our thing together. So then, none of it's staged. All of it's just, you know, us existing together and having fun. And the baby's like, you know, or maybe he's right about to go to bed, or maybe he has a little too much energy. And I love this image. This image is like, he was already at like 8 or 9 or 10 months. Sorry about bad of the math right now. If I see dates, I might be able to. But he just was like, we had a little happy smiley balloon, and he was chasing it, and then like he was at that moment, and it's just like, it's a really good artistic image. Like I love this image, but then it also like hope and redemption and everything. If you want to read into it symbolically, it captures all of that, because he was at that stage where now we were mourning my mother, but we were more like, oh, Louis, like, let's make the baby happy. Let's do all these things. Let's buy a happy balloon and just make him smile. So then, I lived with my family like this for about a year, and it was beautiful. It was it was everything I needed. I needed this little soul in my life in order to move on, in order to like know that there's life after death. But then came, can you put thumbnail? Because I want to make sure. Yeah, okay, so then, so while the year after my mom passed away, I worked really hard trying to transfer at ELAC. And I got into an art school, and I got into 2 art schools, one in San Francisco and one in New York, and I chose the one in New York because that was my dream. And I did it just like I have to do it. I didn't really think of the state I would be in, or the fact, hey, your mom just died like a year ago. I just said, well, now here's my opportunity. They're giving me a scholarship, all this stuff. I'm gonna take off and go. And so, you can click onto
This one?
yeah. So then, the work I was creating, it was technical and all this stuff, and just using 5D or whatever I had around to create the work. And I was really missing my family, and another state of mourning happened in New York. I didn't know it was going to affect me as bad as it did, and I visually missed them, and I was lonely, and it was getting cold. And so my family, they're poor, they're all struggling to survive. And so something as simple as in 2011, they didn't have a phone that had Skype, or they didn't even have a laptop. And so I remember my sister-in-law got financial aid, and she needed it for class, and they got a laptop with a little video camera, and that changed my whole existence because I had one. And so we just Skyped for hours and hours because we all missed each other. Like, she was a young mom, the baby missed me. My brother was like, he misses me in his own way. But, so we would just spend hours together. And I started screen capturing my family. So then this transcended everything I had learned in community college. I don't think this would have been accepted at community college, but at art school, I did this for a really long time, maybe 2 or 3 months without telling anybody. And finally at the end I told my professor, I have about 2,000 images. Is this something? I mean, can this be considered something? Because, all my training at ELAC didn't really say this would be something. And they're like, yeah, you're basically creating more of these images with your family. So then,
Hi.
hi.
Are you gonna have the class right now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it then. We're the art club, so we're just having a Q&A art.
Oh, our class starts at 1.
Okay, we'll take down then.
Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
just shocked. What? Okay.